All right, let's get this thing going. Carolyn, thank you for being here. Welcome, welcome. Just double checking our broadcast, make sure we're all good to go and rocking and rolling. So, 3, 2, 1, TikTok, begin. All right, welcome, team. Mark Adapke here, aka your fittest shaman, co-founder of the Infinite Center with Alice Steimert, and we are accompanied by a very special individual. We're going to call her, just by this TikTok, the creative process facilitator. But she goes by many magical names, the Master of Arts, Imagination Guide, you name it. But her superhero name, because like to go by superhero names here on TikToks and with the Infinite Center. Her superhero name is Colorful Cat. So thank you, Cat, for being here. Again, just going over why we're all here with the Infinite Center. Our TikToks, again, are just a platform for you all to interact. Again, providing you resources, education, and inspiration about the Infinite Center. And more importantly, give you all the updates about our programs and events. And particularly, we're talking about our events up and coming with workshops, particularly workshops that are about specific elements within the 7 elements. And if you guys didn't tune in last week, we had the 7 element overview with Alice, myself, and Jared, where we talked about, what does a 7 element framework look like? And so when you look at that framework with the bubbles of each of the individual elements, we have one that's particularly about creativity. And so Kat, being the creative process specialist here, she's going to give us all the wisdom, all the things that we need to know about, what to expect with this element. How can we start to integrate this element within us, and how you can start to integrate the element of creativity into your own lifestyle through a workshop or a 6-week program. And we have Kelly and Rose. Hey, our friends. Very nice. Awesome. Right on time, right? Oh, good to see your face, Rose. So before we get into our TikTok and the meat and potatoes here, we're going to take our 3 breaths. We're going to get grounded here and just to settle into our space. So just take a moment here to get your feet planted into the floor, or if you're sitting in a chair, just make sure you're sitting up nice and tall. Lengthen your spine, shoulders back. Relax the head and noggin, and just try to release any tension in the upper body and shoulders. Maybe you feel like you're shrugging or rolling forward. Just relax. Start to center yourself. Take any notes of awareness to where you're going to. Maybe it's in your body, maybe it's the noise, maybe it's a thought. Maybe you're just patiently waiting for me to tell you to do something here. Let's focus on our first breath. Take a slow inhale through your nose, go all the way up. And you slight hold, and exhale through the nose or through the mouth. Take another breath in. Breath out. Unamas. Last one here. Nice breath. Fill all the way up. Stomach, chest, throat. Big inhale through the nose. Give me a hold here. And big sigh out. Just hold that for a moment. And within yourself, just come to this thought of, what does being creative mean to you? This idea of creativity, this creative process. What's the first thing that comes to your mind? What are the first thoughts or experiences in your life that allow you to reflect on what it means to be creative? Ah, good memories for me here. Ooh, slowly open your eyes. Come back to reality here. Creative process. Pat, talking to you a little bit about as we were building up to this TikTok, I was actually doing some self-reflection on creativity that I'll share down the road here. But yeah, let's just come back to this idea again. Why are we all here, right? Holistically engaged, ready to embrace this time that Kat's going to give us to talk about the element of creativity. And the idea with the 7 element framework, what we do is, we all want to be whole and we want to integrate these elements, but we can't be all masters of each of these elements. If you are, hey, listen, you're awesome. But we all have our callings to different elements and what they do for us, and so it allows us to collaborate with individuals who really have used a specific element in their life, not just in a way to improve themselves and connect to themselves, but also how they can use that as a tool to serve others. And so we just learned from the past few weeks where we had Jack with mindfulness, and now we are working with Kat, who's a special teammate of ours, who has all the tools that allow us to start to integrate these creative practices into our lives. Now bringing it to our communities. So with that being said, I want to just touch on a story about how I met Kat personally from my experience and what she has meant to the Infinite Center team. And it goes back to, we keep coming back to this special experience in Costa Rica in 2022, not just the recent one. I know, Kelly, you were just a part of that, but the very first one. And so really it was actually my experience with Kat was not, too much. I mean, I just knew that she was a breathwork facilitator and she was there to provide us the experience and hold our space. We had really minimal interactions, but I really recognized that, she was a big part of this process. But I also noticed that she was in these beginning stages of really finding her truth in this specialty that she has in this type of work, knowing that she was a certified breathwork facilitator and she was involved with the work of doing inner healing and plant medicine and breath work and all the things that we're learning. And that growth really organically developed because Alice, being the architect that she is and creating teams of individuals, she invited myself and Kat to be a part of the facilitation team for upcoming retreats in the year of 2023. And so one of those retreats being River Mountain, PA, which, just a teaser for anyone watching, that's going to be another retreat coming up in July. If you're interested, DMS, we'll get you there. But that retreat last year really was an opportunity for Kat and I to connect on so many different levels that really brought us from just people being in the same space as a team to really being bonded as we say to each other, like soul brother and soul sister here. And I was really able to see her in action as a facilitator, as also being a co-facilitator with her. And one of her special talents that I noticed was how she brought in this nurturing, loving, energetic care to when it came to participants, particularly in the work of body work, which is an art in itself and a creative process from her standpoint, of the way she is able to present that care for somebody, and how so many of the participants were receptive to how she was bringing in that talent of body work. And then I was also kind of getting an idea that she was really tuned in with art because she was taking hold of the stations for the mandalas, which are a process of the breath work for artistic expression. But on top of that, then we really had some moments during the retreat where we just were able to like talk and connect and really get to know each other as teammates, as soul family. And I think that really just led us into a magical year of not just for each other to grow in our own self-discovery, because I really can say that, I always talk about my self-growth, but like being able to see Kat's evolution of self and really like coming out of her shell from that very first Costa Rica breathwork retreat to where she is now, which is a totally different person that's, still same, but like blossom. And again, I think it's just like literally just getting started because we have so many exciting things up and coming for Kat. And yeah, this family has been really important to me personally, just within my development, how we do things at the Infinite Center. So it's an honor to have somebody like Kat, who I really noticed throughout our last retreats with her other talents when it came to the topic of soul collage, which is much more than an integration process, and then also seeing how she's just so tuned in when it comes to using music as a tool for the experiences that we were providing. And we're going to touch on all that, and she's going to articulate much more on what those all mean. But before I go into a little bit more about Kat here, Alice, do you want to touch on anything with Kat as being an essential part of our team? Because I know y'all are soul sisters much more.
Yes, thank you, Marco. So two things. One, I wanted to just touch on, in the typical holotropic transpersonal breathwork model, there is creating the mandala, which is something that Stan Grof's wife brought to the process. And it was really about how is another way beside talking or journaling that we start to do that integration process. When we really looked at our seven elements, and I have a background as an architect and designer, and Kat and I talk a lot about this, and I think this is one of the reasons why we connect, is that um, when you are a creative person, and especially if you're trained as a creative person, you see things in a bit of a different way. And actually, life is a creative process. We are imagining ourselves in the future, and then we are taking steps to actually make that a reality. And so there's also studies that show that everyday creativity, meaning like anything that's sort of hands on, creative, a lot of people knit, sew, cook, do art, doodle, whatever it is, all those little bits of everyday creativity actually build that muscle of us being able to imagine something that doesn't exist. So that is one of the elements, and we have expanded that creativity to be not only the mandala but the music, and that's definitely one of Kat's expertise. The soul collage, the potentially the writing. So it's really that creative life. I will also say that one of the things I just admire about Kat, she's been an artist her whole life. Um, but when you're in a class with Kat, it's one thing for somebody to teach you a skill, like take this thing and cut it out and glue it onto a piece of paper. But I have to say, when I watch Kat and I watch the way that she shows her work, and the way that she picks up the scissors, and the way that she looks at how things go together, there's a reverence for her own work, which is also a reflection about the reverence for her life and her journey. And so I think that's another really important part and inspiring part of what's the difference between somebody who can just show us how to get some magazines and cut some things out of it, and actually when we're in the presence of someone who has that, I'm going to call it just sort of the spirit of creativity. And it's, I think, one of the reasons why, those shows where the guy draws, you sort of get mesmerized because it's really, you're witnessing a really beautiful act. So I think those were just the two things that I wanted to add. I have definitely just learned so much from her. My cards have come in so handy. So that was just my little two things I wanted to add to kick this off.
Absolutely. Thank you, thank you, thank you, Alice. I think that's really important too, because one, just touching in, like, what we're offering with that, and really going back to this idea, which I think is a great segue of this reverence that Kat has, right? So, Kat, as you know, we're talking you up, we're hyping you up here, right? Drum roll,
Love
okay?
it. Yeah.
Give us a little idea, give us a background about this reverence. Where did this come from? Where did this origin of this creativity come from within the colorfulness that you present to us?
Thanks. Yeah, thanks, Marco. Really excited to be here and thanks for having me. It's really nice to see everyone. So yeah, creativity came to me at a super early age. I mean, ever since I could like pick up a paintbrush, really, it was all that I really wanted to do and just explore the different kind of medias that were out there and art mediums. Fell in love with clay and paint pretty much instantly. And then mixing those two together, and just kind of playing and experimentation was really like a large part of it. So yeah, that's kind of where that passion just kind of started from. And then it turned into a way of how to look at things. And how do you look at the world? And how do you, maybe look at it and think of it in a different way, you know. Like a spatula could be just a spatula, or you could look at it in a different way and it can become this like creative cartoon character. It's all of these like little like tiny like switches that you can kind of navigate through, and really it was just following the sparks of inspiration and excitement for me, and it was like, okay, where is that going to lead me? And maybe that led into a different kind of inspiration and different modality, or I just kind of was following the breadcrumbs of excitement between, you know, each step, and it's kind of what's led me to here in my life.
All right, so you have this origin, right? You know this is innate calling to art, to this expression. So, what were your first interests that really called to you in terms of like expressing yourself? Was it just creating art? Was it actually, being involved in, I don't know, like clubs or anything like that as you were growing up? What were these first callings for you?
So as a child, I was really kind of introverted, and I had a lot of severe childhood trauma too that I was also navigating. So that really forced me a lot into my own world, and I created my own my imagination became everything for me, and that was really where I developed that. And it also dreams were a big part of that too, because I would spend a lot of time just sleeping and having like these really vivid dreams, which then could spark new inspiration for other ideas and other kind of things that I wanted to create further on. And I just got really good at not being here in the reality. And that just kind of took off. Like it was, to be honest with you, it was really hard to come back, like in my 20s, and really face everything after, you know, the escape that I had. And I was like, okay, well, you do live here, you do have to deal with all this stuff, and maybe you should look at what's been going on and deal with that now. So that's kind of what I was doing for like the next 20 years of my life.
I love that you're bringing in the dream world here because that is a very important part of our processes. As we learn, as Kyle always says, pay attention to your dreams. He always leaves us off with that.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
well, I love it. So this, creative expression in this way of being, right, and this you being tapped into this imaginative, self of yours. How did this lead you to taking this as a tool to serve others, right? Because now you have this, way of, who you are. Like you really feel like it's calling to you. You know it's part of you. But like, where did you find out that this was, part of true self? And then how was it going to take this as a way of creating service?
So that's an interesting story, because I was told a lot that I should teach how to paint and how to do all these other kind of art modalities for people, and it never really felt like it was the right fit. I think because I was so much in my own healing process, I wasn't ready yet to lead somebody else in something like that. So I was in breath work and fell in love with that modality and knew that that was something that I had to be involved in and become a facilitator for. And through that, I actually found soul collage. And soul collage was really kind of the jumping off point where it was like, I can lead people in artistic expression as a way to get in touch with their inner artist or intuition. And it became really something natural.
Natural indeed it is. I can't wait to talk about soul collage. We're gonna hold off on that. We're gonna slowly segue into that. Um, but I also want to touch on like, you know, because you have passion for this in a way where I can relate in a lot of ways in terms of like how I have a passion and just like my own unique skill for when it comes to like helping people in the physical body, like coming back. Um, and so before we get into some cool topics here, how do you feel like this makes you feel like you're doing something that's greater than yourself? I kind of think this is a hard question, but I'm just thinking like, because these are our gifts that we're given with, right? And these are tools that we have. So like, when did you start to really feel like this was your gift and your way to really provide, something that's deeper than, just self or service to others? It's really connecting, the greater good of all life.
So I actually invited a couple of my friends over just to do like a soul collage kind of practice run with them. And it was through those meetings that I really noticed the shift in people when they experienced soul collage. And I was able to hold that space for them in the same way that I hold space in breath work. And it really allowed them to get in touch with a deeper part of themselves that maybe they had forgotten about or that was recovered through that process. And it was really validating for me that, yeah, this is the right thing that I should be doing for people. And it was a similar process with music too, because music is always something that I've been really connected to ever since I was little. It was almost like the universe was speaking through the music to me in various situations. And it was like I was just be thinking about something and driving in the car, and the next song was related to what I was thinking about. And that's kind of this like inner play that I have with the universe, which I just love, because it's like I'm co-creating with the universe, my own reality. And for people now, I can create playlists where they have these amazing experiences, and I can bring them to different levels that they're like, oh my God, where the F was I just now? I had no idea I could get that into that space of my own self. And it was just really it's really validating, and it's very exciting because I just love it. It's just really great.
I love that you brought in like that the universe is communicating to you through, because the universe speaks in frequencies and energy. It's might not be a direct, conversation, but the way it can present things in our lives that really allow us to be like, wow, this is like these synchronicities don't just happen for a reason. That's been something that's really been a big theme I've been working with as well. So I really appreciate you for sharing that, Kat, because that's a beautiful way to segue into a few of our topics here, right? So that's a wonderful story, Kat. And again, it really, I think you just are really on your path, right? I mean, I don't think I know, right? And and it's been really great to just see how you are continuing to evolve with that and really starting to allow this light to shine on for others. So let's talk about this concept of the creative life. And Alice was touching on this a little bit about this creative element, right? And then bringing this element into our whole being, and that we all access this creative element. And it's maybe for a lot of our communities, just a simple perception shift of like, what does it actually mean to be creative? Because I think a lot of us just think, it's just drawing and art, but really it's just a way of thinking about things, being with things, and just a mindset. So give us a little insight about, what is this creative life, and how can we start to maybe create a change in perspective of, what it means to integrate that into our lives.
Yeah, so creativity is happens every day, even without you knowing it, really. It's the little hit inside your head. It's like that says on your daily walk, let's go walk over here instead of walking the same normal path that you take every day. Or it's a different way of problem solving. That's also a creative act. So, or rearranging your furniture in your room because you don't like the way it looks anymore. That's also a creative act. So there's all these other kinds of creativity that happen, even if it's not the traditional pen, paper, art piece. And what I would recommend is to look back at what you were really excited about as a child. What creative process were you really into when you were growing up? Was it music? Was it writing? Was it art? All of these other kinds of creativity processes happened when we were little that we've forgotten about. And it would be really interesting to go back and, just pick it up and just see what happens without having your inner critic of your adult mind judging you, because that's what it does, right? So, and then once the judgment comes in, the creativity leaves. So you have to ask the creativity to leave, or you have to ask the judgment to leave while you can just play and practice. And, I really enjoyed finger painting when I was little. And I was like, what would it be like to just finger paint without any idea of having a goal at the end of it, just for the sheer enjoyment of feeling the paint on the canvas swishing it around with your fingers, and see where that leads.
I love how you come back to just being back into that state of being a child, right? Like what was life like back then for you? Because in a lot of ways, that's your soul is able to express itself almost in like in a capacity that's at its true nature sometimes when it's there because we're not fed, a lot of ways of being and thinking that may be, material or feeding, we say the ego. Um, and I always kind of relate to that when it comes to like movement. I always just how I keep making my parallels with you. I have to come back to the physical stuff, but like when it comes to teaching people to get back into their bodies, I say like, we want to learn how to crawl before we start, doing, the sexy stuff, right? So it's really coming back to like our origins of like who we are and how we move or how we express that really allow us to open our perspective and our minds to like, what is this feeling that we have that we connect to this particular element. You talk about judgment and, and I think that's very, common that we're just designed, to have that. But like, what would you say? What kind of tips would you give to somebody there? Where judgment kind of comes in with this cycle of being creative, and what kind of tips or things you would say to somebody that maybe is kind of working around that barrier of judgment?
Yeah, so there's a couple of ways that you could go about it. You could get curious about the judgment, and just kind of spend some time on it. Like, why am I so self-critical? Why is this so important to me that I can't just do what I want without fear of it, without fear of me feeling bad, right? Because that's really because nobody else is watching you for the most part while you're doing these things. It's just you in your own head. So, what part of you is really making you doubt yourself?
Fear is that base level emotion that really is the key to unlocking us to like becoming our best self in all the elements in all these capacities. Because fear is something that always shows up, and that's been another synchronicity in my personal life that I've been working on. So thank you for that share because I think that really speaks to a lot of these elements in general, and it is that baseline um, emotion that really does kind of hold us back from really exploring, right? And then there's so many things to explore.
Yeah, it's really for it holds you back from blooming and expressing your true self to everybody else as well. So you're not giving the world your full person, and everyone wants to see your full person, even if you're afraid to see it, and show it. Everybody else would really want to be there and see that for you.
Hashtag motivation right there. Yeah, flip it. Awesome. All right, well, let's get into some of the fun stuff here, okay? So we talked about, this idea of the creative process, but now let's actually go into some specific creative ways that, Kat has her specialties in and that what she does for our Infinite Center community and what she does for herself. And, you've heard her talk about soul collage. And I can just say from experiencing it once, but it being a very profound experience for me of how it was allowing me to get one out of my personal comfort zone, right? Just kind of like letting go of this fear of, expressing myself in a different way and actually finding it to, be very beneficial for a lot of my personal processes. And I was able to see how it was really just affecting so many others, not just because of the practice itself, but because of the way, like Alice was saying earlier, the way that you presented the soul collage experience. So let's get into that. So talk about a little bit about soul collage, just a general, because we don't want to spoil too much because people will get some soul collage experience. But talk a little bit about what soul collage has personally done for you, and just a general outline of what to expect with soul collage.
Okay, yeah. So Soul Collage was developed by Zena Frost in the 70s, and it was just really simple. It was take images from magazines, pictures, coffee books, anything that resonates with you, either in a highly positive vibration or a negative vibration. Start tearing out those images and then start cutting out those images and putting them on a new background and manipulate them in a way that creates a new story and a new narrative in that image. And they're small, they're like maybe 8 by 5 inches. So it kind of creates your own personal oracle deck. Maybe people have used tarot decks before, but this is an oracle deck that mirrors your life and your journey through the world. And it's possible to use those cards in a way to gain more intuition for yourself, to help different parts of yourself speak together. And it's also a really great integration tool or preparation tool for any journeys that you might have. So I have a couple cards that I've just picked out to show you guys. So this is one that I've made for the summertime. And then there's different ways, of course, that we will work with these cards, but I'm not going to give everything away. So you'll notice that there are no words on my cards. And then sometimes there are images that need nothing else because the image is so powerful on its own. So this is my warrior card.
Love the warrior card. Seen that one a few times.
And then we also talk about your own spirit totem animals and where they reside in yourself. And I help you through meditation of how to get connected with them. So this is, I've had a very strong connection with bears my whole life. And I didn't know that the bears live in my root chakra until I started this process. And then there's also, this was an integration tool this one that I made after a 5-MeO DMT experience that I had. So it's just, and then you have a tangible thing that you can take with you and meditate on. And you can use it as journaling prompts. There's a way that you can free flow, kind of channeling the spirit energy of the card through them. And I teach you how to do all those things in the classes.
Awesome. Just give us your top thing that you see that when you present this to individual or group, what are the things that you notice for people that are doing soufflage?
So the first thing I kind of notice is a hesitancy, that judgment, that inner critic comes up again, and it's like, oh, I don't want to, they already are judging what my cards look like versus what they're going to create. And it's really not a competition. And it's kind of hard to get out of that mentality, right? And we go through a meditation process where I invite your inner critic to leave the door. You physically see it like leaving the space. So you can just play and kind of create things. And another part is people want to know where I get the materials from, what kind of scissors to use, and then little techniques on how to cut better or those kinds of things is kind of what pops up.
Awesome. One of my favorite parts of the Soul Collage experience is we did it as a group during our retreat experience in Costa Rica. And other than just, being in a group and just having, a bonding experience through art and expression was the way that we shared the experience. And so me being, Marco and all excited for my first time. Hey, I did art. Yay. All right, great. I'm all excited to share. And I start sharing and then Kat goes, no, that's not how we share it here, Marco. All right, hold back. So just give us a little insight. This is part of this Soul Collage experience, but when it comes to sharing the experience and how that's really important of making a connection to your art versus just kind of just keeping it as a piece of art.
Right. Yeah. So if I were to do it wrong, I'm going to show you how to do it wrong first, and then I'll show you how to do it right. So the first way how to do it wrong would be all right, so this is a card, and it has a paintbrush, and it's painting the flowers. There's a golden heart down here, and there's a telephone coming up, right? So that's the wrong way to do it. So the correct way to do it is we always start with the phrase, I am one who, and then you channel the energy from the card. So it would be, if I were to do it now, right? So I'm getting into my channeling mode. So I am one who answers the call when inspiration arises, and I follow it with my heart open, and it leads me to flowers and golden sunsets.
If only I could have done that the first time.
It's a learning process. You'll get
Yeah, yeah.
better.
Well, thank you for that. Hey, listen, I'm a noob, so I'm excited for the next time though, because I think this is just an exciting journey to take on. But yeah, so thank you so much for the soul collage demo. We're going to continue on here with some other creative expressions and elements that Kat is very good with, and this is by far my favorite version of Kat, which is with the music. And if anyone can relate to music in terms of like how it affects us within our emotions, our being, our state of mind, our state of consciousness, and music is a big part of what we do within our transpersonal breathwork experiences, it being 3 hours and very, very loud. But it also there's an art to music, and we'll talk a little bit of how that works within the transpersonal. But just in general, like knowing how certain music in general just has a certain effect on somebody, or can really allow somebody to work in a state of being, is it's just a never-ending experience in sound in general. So, Kat, real quick, just talk about the music process when it just in general, right? So, talk about like why you feel called to music, why you enjoy music so much, and why do you feel like it plays a big role in not just your life but in other people's lives.
So for me, music's always played a really big part of my life. It was another form of escapism when I was a child. It was easy to jump into music, and I could turn my music up really loud in my bedroom and not hear the noise that was happening outside. And I've just really enjoyed playlists and even just soundtracks. Like I was one of those weird kids that when I got the new CD, I would go home, open it up, sit there with the little book and read the lyrics the whole time, like while the music was playing. And I would just sit there for like the whole time that the music was playing. And it was just really fascinating for me to hear the lyrics in combination with the sound. It kind of created my own little experience that I had. And I kind of, I'm not really sure how it came about for me to be making playlists, but I had an inkling that I knew what I was doing for breath work and playlists. So I was very fortunate to be given the opportunity to try that, and was very grateful that my inkling was confirmed, and not just confirmed, but like resoundingly, like applauded almost, which is just amazing. Like it's just so heartwarming for me to know that I touch people in that way, and that my musical ear is helping them to reach places that they haven't really been before, or maybe haven't been in a really long time, and have them feel that connection to the music and to reality and to the community that's around them within the space.
I will forever be your hype man when it comes to thinking about music and creating music, because one, I appreciate the way you think about music and put it together, because I really feel like I do a good job personally with connecting music in general and understanding the vibration, the frequency, the energetic effect of the music, and how that really allows us to transcend, to more than just the physical body and these other realms. And yeah, I really think it's just a magical process of what you do with the music. So when it comes to the transpersonal breathwork experience specifically, um, talk us through about how that works when we are, or just in any, it could be a psychedelic experience, but when it comes to transpersonal breathwork, there's really a specific technique and way that it's structured to give and provide the individual participant a particular experience to process this inner healer and connect to this inner healer that they have?
Yeah, so there's an arc to the soundtrack, whether it be breath work or like a psychedelic playlist that I create. And it starts off for breath work specifically very activating. So I really personally enjoy a lot of rhythmic beats and drums. So that's kind of the music that I will like start with. It will then transition more into what I call kind of like more spooky kind of music like that, which is really just to stir up your subconscious mind and just to see bring things to the surface that you can then work with for your journey. And then it'll transition more into like a coming home kind of tone, where it's really more meditative and calling you back to your body, back to this reality. So that kind of gives you like the full arc. And while I'm doing this, I'm really listening to the tone within each song and how they work with each other. So I might have like a playlist where there's like maybe a little bit of dolphin noises like in the beginning. And then I'll like mirror that at the end and have dolphin sounds at the end. So I'm really trying to create almost like a themed kind of experience for people so that they can really feel like they're watching almost like a movie or be a part of a movie that they're the star of.
That's such an awesome way to put it. I was actually gonna ask you next about, like what's I have to know like what's in Kat's mind. I mean, I know because when I experience it, I'm like, I get it, but I don't articulate it, well, like what I know, but I know we're on that frequency. I know what you're thinking. So are there any other things that like kind of you think about when you put together music or an experience or, even just in general, like, how do you feel like you, when you put together your own playlist to listen to?
So I sometimes it'll be like one song will hit me and I'll know that that song is what I want to create the whole playlist around. So for example, like there's like a playlist that I've created for River Mountain that I don't want to give too many away. We'll just do a little bit, but but there's like a really there's a really great electric guitar riff that I've been like obsessed with since I was a teenager, and I refound it again as I was going through my old CDs that I still have. I know I'm one of those people that still has CDs and listens to it sometimes, and I was like, wow, wouldn't it be amazing to have a playlist breath work specifically around this crazy electric guitar riff. And so I just kind of created it and was like, okay, so what other sounds work with this sound and how can I make it so it's not going to be so intense for somebody that they're going to be like, oh my God, I just feel like I came out of a concert, where it kind of transitions more into like a really interesting movie that you're watching. So that's kind of some of the things that I do, but I also like I'll just start sometimes with the song, like the first song. What do I really want to listen to? Once it's like, okay, that meditation's over, I'm starting to breathe. What song is it that's really going to be like wanting me to keep breathing and keep going? And then just kind of see where that takes me, because I really pay attention to the transition between songs and how they work into each other. And I look for similar notes within the music tracks so that they blend almost seamlessly from one track to the next.
I also love that you touched on, how music, all these tracks, and just in general, music doesn't necessarily need an access code into the mind, right? It just goes right in, and so it's going to go into deep parts of our brains and really turn things on that will give us insight, that will give us, some sort of wisdom and knowledge to, what's maybe locked in there that we're not consciously aware of. Um, so yeah, I just find music to really be just a powerful tool on so many different levels. And I'm excited for people to continue to experience the Colorful Cat creativity that you bring to these playlists, because again, this is just an infinite process in itself. So Thank you very much for the music journey. Okay,
You're
we'll
welcome.
continue on here. But I know we have some people here on the call. If you got any, love for the cat playlist, give her some whoop whoop. I mean, like, yo, that took me to another dimension, bro.
Kat once taught me how to use the Tesla from not too long ago, and we were in the Tesla just hanging out, talking and catching up. And she put one of her playlists on, and by song two, that was it, right, Kat? I was just like,
Oh,
my eyes were
Tears,
leaking.
yeah.
I was releasing, completely unintentional, and it was great. So it really, she does have a little bit of a magic there when it comes to music and getting people to feel and and release, which was really great. Like, who knew I even needed it at that time, right, Kat? We were just doing a we were
I
just
know.
doing
I
a
think I just grabbed your hand. I was just like,
yeah.
oh.
Hold on.
oh my gosh, I did a meditation to one of your little testing playlists the other day, and I said you got to call this playlist divine because it was I mean I just took off and I was just breathing and meditating. So yeah, just the way it all intertwines are very very powerful. Awesome. We were touching on the process of music for a breathwork experience. And so, if you're doing a microdose, which some of you guys have done through a breathwork, it could be 40 minutes to an hour. But ideally, it's a 3 hour experience in an arc, and like the way Kat explained. And then after the breathwork experience with the music and all these things that are coming up and people are working with and experiencing, they then move on to a process with the mandala. And really, it's again a way of, like Alice said, how it was originated with Stan Grof's wife was a tool for people to again like have a form of expressing their experience and really using it as integration or reflection, right? In so many different ways. So talk a little bit about the mandala and really about how you like to use it as not just a tool for your work, but how it uses as a tool for everyone else that are having a chance to use it with breath work.
Yeah, so the mandala is really a chance for you to record what happened in your breathwork session. And it's really, again, not an artistic, thing. It's nothing to do about your creativity, but it's just getting something on paper. And I've noticed after breathwork sessions, when I start drawing, like that inner critic and inner judgment for me is completely gone. I just start doing stuff on the paper. And sometimes it's like, I don't know what the hell that was about, and some other times it was like, oh, wow, I really, kind of, I can see kind of something happening here. And it's a way for you to document it and bring it home and put it up on the wall and revisit it, look at it from time to time. And there are still things that are coming up to me. Like I just recreated one together in Costa Rica, and I noticed that there was like a black dog. Like I had a black dog in my experience, and I'm actually having a black dog come to live with me very soon. And I was like, oh my God, like I didn't even recognize, like seriously, like 5 months later, like it's still, little hits are still coming to me. And I'm like, I had this amazing experience with a black dog in my breathwork, and now I'm actually getting a black dog to my house. So it's actually Carol's black dog, but I'm graciously like letting me borrow him. But that's something that just came around and I had no idea. And also the mandala is another tool that I really like to use for integration, which is kind of a next level step, right? So I like to use an AI program called Bing. And after I'm done with my mandala, the second thing I like to do is I like to go into Bing and create an AI image from my breathwork session as a way to integrate my experience. And the images that AI can create is really amazing. And that's just a really great another tool that you can use for inspiration and to use it in a different way. I will also go and make another soul collage. I absolutely will on my experiences too. So those are my little integration things. I'm not really big on journaling so much, I've realized, but I really like these creative processes for integration. And that's just something that I really found very helpful and beneficial for me.
Yes. Um, with and even going back to like that mandala, right? Like, I mean, and Alice has told us, some interesting stories with Lenny and how that process worked with his mandala art. But just in general, right? What we do, and this is just my personal understanding, when we're doing deep inner work or we're just taking time to connect to, not just our own self, but we're really communicating to the universe when we're doing this type of work. And just that idea of being open and receptive, and then these energies that we are doing within our inner work are really connecting us to unlocking, almost we're our power that we have within ourselves to see, right? And this is, obviously connected to the pineal gland, and just unlocking states of consciousness that like we are maybe not just foreseeing, but we're creating the reality that we want, right? And we're just putting it on there. We might be getting downloads, we might be getting, insight, or we might just be manifesting, and because we're energetically open through that. And so that mandala is much more than just drawing, right? It's really a way for us to, like I said, create a reality, or foreseeing a reality and understanding, parts of ourselves that are much deeper. And touching on that Bing real quick, I just want to share mine because Kat's talking about Bing, and I said I finally pulled the trigger because again I'm opening here, right? I texted her the other day. I said, Kat, I'm getting into my creative process here. You got to tell me about Bing because, this seems like it's something that could be really helpful for me. And it has. And yeah, so check this out here. We're talking about some of our experiences recently.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Are you on the big screen or am I on the big screen?
I don't know.
I thought I put it like everyone could see my screen as like a big screen, but I don't even think I got it on there. There we go.
Yeah, that looks great.
This was a recent experience that I had with, well, Kat and I and Alice. We were all together during our 5MEO experience, and really that was a great way for me to, just feel like I could connect to that experience again. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
because you're getting in touch with your inner healer, but you're also getting in touch with your inner artist then too at the same time. So they're kind of going hand in hand, guiding you.
yes, I'm excited for more inner artist work. I'm open, I'm receptive, and again, like you said, like we touched on from the very beginning, it's really just creating a different mindset to, what is it we are, not really being judgmental of it. Even though if my drawing, painting art might not be, appealing visually, it means something. It can be something, and it relates to. So, um, cool. So before we close up, do any of give us a little bit of advice here for starting a artistic creative journey? What would you say to somebody if I'm not sure, other than all the hype speech and stuff that you've talked about? Is there any advice that you would leave us, just in general when it comes to the creative process and journey,
Let's see, advice. Well,
other than do a workshop with me?
yeah, well, come do a workshop with me, absolutely. I would recommend just sitting with yourself first and seeing what you are interested in. Because I can tell you a whole bunch of things, but if you're really like, that's not really for me, it's not going to mean anything. But if you can just listen and be like, well, what kind of thing would I be possibly interested in? Is it writing pages in the morning that just like freehand free thought thinking, writing down in the morning before you even pick up your phone? You just start writing whatever came up in your mind. Some of my best ideas come really early in the morning, and that kind of like in between phase of waking up and still sleeping. And if you can catch those on paper, then at least you can really work with that. Is it maybe you're just like, I don't know, but I really want to try something with kumquats. And you're like, okay, go see find some kumquats, research it a little bit. Are you interested in animals? And maybe you've seen a turtle, be like, oh my God, this is the third turtle I saw today. what does that mean for you? Like, it's showing up for a reason. Pay attention to what's showing up around you. Those are the things that are going to lead you in the direction that you need to go. But you really just need to open your eyes and just look around.
And I love this. I'm going to call this an Alice quote here. I don't know if this is an Alice quote, but this is spot on here. The inner healer is looking back, while the inner artist looks ahead. I love that. There she is, the whole big
Yes.
architect doing her thing.
Beautifully said, soul sister.
Awesome. Well, yeah, I love that. And yeah, there's just so many things to continue to explore for all of us. So, with that being said, we do have some exciting things coming up in terms of you guys getting more involved with CAT and this creative element. So, what we're going to start with is a workshop. These are 90-minute experiences where Kat is going to take us through an element within a soul collage, right? We're going to do some soul collage work specifically because of that being a great experience that we'll do online. And really, it's as simple as just tuning into your Zoom, making sure that we have everything set up and organized ahead of time. So just put into these dates. We'll give you more information ahead, but the dates will be May 21st and June 25th. These are going to be two, again, 90-minute workshops. These are on Tuesdays. And again, going to be a great experience for you to have like, a basic introduction to what soul collage is. And these would also be really good build-ups for upcoming retreats because it is good to have some preparation before a retreat experience, a way to start to look inward in terms of whether if you're looking for one of our 3-day retreats, whether if you're looking into our big River Mountain retreat in July. And so, yeah, just again, take advantage of these workshops and these tools that we have for you. And yeah, I'll just leave it open here for questions. If anyone has a question.
Oh, I will say really quick, you don't have to worry about like having a whole bunch of materials ready for these workshops. It's really as easy as something as like glue stick, scissors, a bunch of magazines. That's really, really kind of the baseline of what you need. There's of course a couple other little tips and tools, but that's really it.
Perfetto. Anybody? Amy, I know you're chomping at the bits to ask a question here. Saying hi.
Hi.
Hey!
Hi. How's everybody?
Hi, Amy.
Hi. Kat, I loved your presentation tonight. I took a lot of notes like my nerdy self.
I love it.
And I will say that I bought all soul collage materials and I have my daughter doing it with me a lot. So we're fans.
It's wonderful. Yeah, doing soul collage with kids is a really great way to kind of peek into what's going on in their head without them knowing.
I guess you're right.
Awesome.
I can't wait to see you and Amy. I'm really excited.
Yeah. Thank
Cool.
you, Kat.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing, Amy.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Awesome, team. Well, that's it. All right, we're going to wrap this thing up. Again, thank you, everybody, for showing up tonight and being here for an amazing discussion that we had here with Kolorful Cat and everybody that's tuning into the recording and live. So, yeah, take this wisdom with you. We're looking forward to seeing you guys at a workshop and have a great rest of your evenings. All right? Till next
Thank
time.
Everyone, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Dude, you're awesome.
Thanks.
Fantastic.
Pat, that you got so much good content in there.
Thank you.
I was getting nervous. I'm like, dude, she's killing it right now. You were on point. Yeah, that was really great.
Was very good. Very, very good.
Well, I had good team members that were supportive too.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, this is recorded here, so once done, I'll just clip up a bunch of stuff here. I have it for you. I'll have the recording on YouTube, the full thing, and then I'll share with you the Drive document too.
Perfect.
So you have that. All right.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Cool. All right.
Very cool.
Thanks, guys.
I just have one question, Marco. Are you coordinating? Because Kat, you're getting in at what time are you getting in on in LA?
Saturday.
Oh yeah,
Are you talking with Ben, Marco?
yeah.
Okay, because Kat, you don't get in until like after lunchtime, right?
Yeah, I think yeah, like 3 or
Okay, because what we might do is there's a place that's really near the center because we're going to be at the center, Marco.
Mhm.
I think Ben and Monica will have their kids, so they're going to go back to their house. But there's a little restaurant that's like kind of right walking distance to the center.
Mhm.
So, so Kat, maybe you can Uber over or something, or if there's places
yeah,
near you that are really cool, we could Uber over. But
sure.
we can figure out because it sounded like the group was going to all get together for lunch, right, Marco?
Yeah, we're gonna get together. A handful of friends from my study group that are in LA. So trying to
Okay.
get a group of everybody together on that stuff.
Okay.
2:20 is when my plane lands.
Oh, okay. Okay. So we'll plan to connect with you for dinner
Yeah.
on Saturday night. An Alice and Marco dinner, which will be at like 5 p.m.
Okay. Hey, I've been getting up earlier, so you might catch me earlier.
Wow. And I've been staying
since,
up later, so I don't know what's going on.
since the West Coast is like 3 hours behind us, I figure it might work out.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. So very cool. Well, you did a great job tonight.
Thank you. Thank you so
Very,
much.
very cool. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Good job to you too, Marco.
Thanks. I'm getting there. I'm getting there.
Yes.
Have a
All
good one.
right.
See you guys.
Thank you. Bye
Love
bye.
you.